Jeremiah still there?
I am, and it is recording.
Great. Okay, so welcome to my part of the panel presentation on myths and realities about therapeutic humor and laughter. I've been very concerned for a number of years about what we say about humor and laughter, the claims that are made. Some are wonderful, some are outrageous, and I am concerned about that, and I'll explain my concerns to you as we go along, and I will end with a few suggestions of what I think we might be able to do about that. Many of us have been working very hard to make humor and laughter and therapeutic humor and therapeutic laughter credible fields of study so they're worthwhile funding, and make them credible fields so that people will want to learn methods that they can apply, perhaps to bring about some improvements in their own lives. So here is the URL. I've asked Martin to share that with everybody. We'll have as many ways as possible. You can jot it down here. It'll show up again at the end on one of the last slides. You can go to that Dropbox, get this presentation, get a lot of documentation and more. One of the things you'll find in that Dropbox is a document called the Gelopedia, G-E-L-O-P-E-D-I-A. Gelopedia is the last document that Bill Fry and I worked on together. He was very enthused about it. It was a lot of fun. It started out as tongue-in-cheek, but we really are attempting to capture some definitions of terminology in our field and figure out the scientific names that might go with them. The Gelopedia is going to be in that Dropbox for you. This is one of the things that I think causes concern. Where do people get information today about humor and laughter and what its value might be, or how they might use it? And R. Barker Bozell, who I will refer to later, who wrote a book called Snake Oil Science and Studying Reports about Complementary and Alternative Medicine, came to this conclusion. He said, perhaps the two most dangerous words in the English language are studies show. And we certainly had some validation from people in the news and journalists that if you say studies show, boy, you can get away with almost anything, what you want to tell people. Here's a headline at the top of this slide that was reported. I picked up the report on the internet. Scientists say smelling farts prevents cancer. And immediately I wanted to look for fart jokes because I'm one of those people who's not too old to laugh at them, and they are important in our family. But if you saw that headline, what would you think? Would you say, gee, I want to start sniffing around? If a scientist says that, maybe that's something I ought to do. Oh, and by the way, one more little comment I want to make here. Okay, so this was the piece that I found, and I'm not going to read everything that's on the screen because you're going to have this, you're going to be able to access this and get all these details. So but there's a link, but I highlighted in red. That's I added the red, and a whiff here and there has the power to reduce risks of cancer, strokes, heart attacks, arthritis, and dementia. And then it has something to do with mitochondria, and it turns out the fellow who did the study is a really well-respected scientist with hundreds of studies published in reputable journals. But boy, when you see this information, what are people going to think who read this? And then related to that, I found this cartoon. I'll give you a couple seconds to read this. So laughter, along with a really good dissolvable laxative, can cure anything. I don't know if everyone understands that's a great exaggeration. Are we laughing with ourselves? Are we laughing at ourselves? What does a cartoon like that tell us about some public perceptions of things? Then this is another thing. You know, information is coming through social media, popular literature, popular publications. And we know that there are things that are just aren't right. But what are we going to do about that? I found this is how we used to sell cures. I'll give you a chance to read about that. I thought the radium suppository sounded interesting. And down in the lower left-hand corner, maybe that was the original Breathe Right strip. But cocaine and radium and what are the ingredients? But boy, we can cure anything. Baldness, your nose, your hair, cancer. This is one of my favorites along this line. I will read the bottom of it. To keep that health, you must keep nature's laws. They're simple and easy to keep, but if they're broken, nature extracts a heavy penalty from each and every one. Get plenty of sleep, exercise, and wholesome fun. Avoid overwork, all other excesses. Eat fresh, natural foods. Breathe fresh air and drink plenty of fresh, invigorating, natural, radioactive water from the Radium Spa. I want to be sure that we're not going down that slope as we attempt to connect the dots between humor, laughter, and physiology, biology, neurology, possibly health and happiness. And I appreciated the comment that Steve made as we were preparing for this. While I agree that health benefits presented here are likely true, that does not make them substantial. And I thought that was an interesting distinction. Maybe that's topic for discussion. But then who cares about all this? You're a scientist, you work hard, you're very diligent, you produce results that you hope are respected in the scientific community, and then you see them distorted, misconstrued by editors, or it's like playing the old telephone game and passing it down the line. But who cares about any of that? Maybe we should take the attitude, the old Hollywood public relations maxim, which said, I don't care what they say about me as long as they spell my name right. Do we care about what is said about us, about humor and laughter, and what happens to that? So I put together this very quick. This will go by quickly, but again, you'll be able to study this on your own. Can you recognize what is curious, spurious, bullshit, or flat out wrong and misleading? Is there scientific evidence that humor actually brings about healing? Is there evidence that humor prevents illness? Is there evidence that it speeds recovery, that it improves health? I'm not sure that we're there yet. How confident can one be in predicting those kinds of outcomes for individuals? We're certainly not at the point where we can prescribe humor or laughter the way we prescribe medicine. Can you imagine a doctor writing a prescription and saying, I know the dosage and I know the frequency that you should take this. This is the amount of laughter, the kind of laughter, the amount of humor. We're just not there. Maybe we'll get there way, way, way in the future. I'm going to show you some things that were on the internet, some claims about humor and laughter, and you can decide, are they true or false, or do we need to get this new spray and have it available in our offices and classrooms and labs. So this was on the internet, all in one big, I forget what they call it, there's a technical term when they put all these sort of facts or factoids together. I want to leave it up here for you to look at these. Some of these are going to sound familiar. They're not all at the same level of credibility and accuracy. I wonder if you know that, and I wonder if it's a concern for us in a professional organization, and if it is, so what can we do? I, as a psychologist in private practice for many years, certainly was aware of a level of responsibility to my clients and patients, and that was a much higher standard of the average person, more than just being prudent. I don't know. I just selected the one down in the bottom of the screen, a little bit to the right, where it says laughter is laughter all these things? Well, they're check marked. And I just, to talk about it for this brief discussion, I wanted to just look at this no side effects. Well, that's not true. Laughter has side effects. and they are documented, and some of the ones that have been documented more surely than others, is that laughter can cause, there's a thing called laughter-induced narcolepsy, laughter-induced asthma, and laughter for a person with COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is very dangerous. And some of the documentation for that is in that Dropbox. So what do we do? I mean, I assume we are not putting out this news that laughter has no side effects. But what are we going to do about the fact that this is going on out there? And I think that for people who know better, if we are associated with these kinds of assertions and claims, it diminishes our credibility. Also wanted to take a look at one other one. A minute of intense laughter from a good belly laugh sets your heart rate to the same level as 10 minutes on a rowing machine. Now, when I saw that many years ago, it was originally attributed and often attributed to Bill Fry. And he and I, over the years, became close, and I'm so happy that he was a friend and a mentor. And I asked him, I said, Bill, what is this attribution to you of research? A scientist says, studies show that the laughter, what you get from your heart rate from a minute of laughter is the same as 10 minutes on a rowing machine. Did you really say that? And he laughed his head off. He said, well, let me tell you. So I'm going to tell you the story as quickly as I can. He said a woman's magazine called me one day. They were doing an article on exercise and emotions, and they knew that he had done some studies on laughter and the cardiovascular system. They called him and said, you know, how does laughter play into exercise and things like that, and is there any benefit from it? And he said to them, I'll call you back tomorrow, and I'll have some information for you. I have to look it up. He said he went to his bedroom where he had one of these collapsible rowing machines under his bed. He slid it out, he put it up. He made himself laugh for a minute or two. He checked his pulse, and his heart rate was about 100 beats a minute. And he got on his rowing machine and he rowed for 10 minutes until it took him 10 minutes to get that heart rate to 100. And then when the reporter called him, he said, according to an unpublished study, and then he gave him this information. And that is how it started, and that is all there is to that. And yet it has generated and been repeated and repeated and repeated, and we have to be careful because we have to understand that just repeating things doesn't make them true, doesn't make them a fact. And you'll see all kinds of variations on this about whether it's riding a bicycle or going to a comedy club and how many minutes. That's the true story, right from Bill Fry. So curious, spurious, specious, I like that word. And I've defined those at the bottom of the slide. You'll have all of this. But in the late 1990s, Diana Mahoney, who's a psychologist at Brigham Young, Hawaii, came and visited me to find out about what I was doing. She came here to Columbus. And she had written this article questioning what we know or believe about Norman Cousins. Is laughter the best medicine or medicine at all? This article is in the Dropbox for you. But I want to read just the red part here. Given the perennial public interest in both health and humor, coupled with the tendency of the popular media to oversimplify, delete qualifiers, and extrapolate when reporting research, it's inevitable that false and unsubstantiated claims abound. Is that a good thing that members of ISHS should be concerned about? I'm going to suggest yes, it is. We should be. Just below that, in 2009, the editor of the New England Journal of Medicine wrote, and I think she quit her job right after this. She thought it's no longer possible to believe much of clinical research published, and she was talking about how research is contaminated because who pays for it and what kind of publication it's going to be in. It really biases the findings, so you can check that out and look for that. And yet, I just put 3 of these in here. I'm not going to read every word. Rod Martin, Bob Provine, this R. Parker Moselle, and earlier I was alluding to something that Steve Sultanoff said. These people are giving us cautions to be careful about what we say, to be careful about what we believe, be careful about how we portray our findings. And I'm thinking maybe we need to go a little further in dealing with responding to outrageous, false, or ridiculous claims. Here's a kind of an example, the famous 1962 laughter epidemic in Tanganyika, which here's another point of view. This was published in the journal Humor, 2007, and Christian Hempelman said, most current representations of this laughter epidemic are flawed by their exaggeration and misinterpretation of the role of laughter. So there's another side to things, and just saying, oh, people in Africa laughed at that, that just shows us how wonderful it is, how contagious it is, and not necessarily that way at all. I want to move to this concept. As you know, statistics can be used to manipulate, can be manipulated to make things look different than what they are. So I call that photoshopping data. Data can be photoshopped. Here are some Photoshop pictures of celebrities, and you can see that photoshopping this way certainly can make things look better than they are in reality. And how often do we know we're looking at a real picture, we're looking at a Photoshop picture? And I just have to share with you my favorite. Look at the physique on this guy, and if you take this physique and this handsome face, you get this. There I am, folks, and this is my profile picture on Tinder. Okay, a couple of scientific, I don't know if these are facts or not, or something to the study that smoking reduces your life, and they know by how many minutes, 1 cigarette, 5 minutes, is that? I don't know. And someone else said laughing increases your life expectancy by 10 minutes. I don't know how much, what kind of laugh. But you take those generalizations, and somebody put those together and came to this conclusion, which I suspect is faulty. Well, okay. So I don't know who's going to keep track of all these things. Not going to go through all of these, but I'm just going to show you how some things are being put out there. Some just embellishments, some exaggerations, some just really weird conclusions. Here's a newspaper article. The leader of the Altona Laughter Club says, I have observed many people receive lots of benefits. They recover from depression, less pain, lower blood pressure, and recover from cancer just by having a more joyful, happy outlook on life. What? And again, is this a concern to us? All this you'll find in the Dropbox in this article about laughter yoga. It can banish cysts on various parts of the body and helps regain normal vision, among other diseases. It oxygenates the cells in the major organs of the body and walls off sickness. Whoa. I want to distance myself from those kinds of claims. Again, not going to read everything. You'll see all of these, but various articles and blogs and reports from laughter being God's secret weapon for you to curing cancer, to preventing dementia. And down the bottom of the screen, laughter yoga also helps to heal a variety of illnesses like hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, depression, arthritis, allergies, asthma. This is a quote: bronchitis, backache, fibromyalgia, migraine headaches, menstrual disorders, and cancer. What are we to do? This was one from a blog and one from a report. And you can go and check out the source of this. Laughter activates suprarenal glands and acts on the adrenaline and the noradrenaline, giving gusts of energy to the organism. It reduces fear, strengthens bravery, and what is more, it activates sex power in men and is good for ovaries and womb in women. These things concern me. And then laughter also gives you healthy, younger-looking skin that glows. So I want to make a few recommendations very quickly, as then we'll have a few minutes to talk, so that we are not looking like we're selling snake oil. But Bozell, in his book Snake Oil Science, suggests, I call them sensible skepticism. Maybe we need to be teaching, or let people know that we teach this, or we follow these kind of precepts. An article is not the same thing as a report of scientific research. Does everybody know that? There's a wide range of credibility of results. Everybody know that? Scientific journals are not all equally credible. Everybody know that? We should be teaching these things. That's my suggestion. Science and the people who write about it can be contaminated and biased. Oh my gosh, really? Yeah. Many factors affect the credibility of the results of studies. It's dangerous to generalize from a single case example. That's what Norman Cousins' situation was, a single case. And what I alluded to earlier, stating a claim repeatedly doesn't make it a fact. So maybe we need to be thinking about wherever somebody is teaching about humor or laugh, are they teaching these things? Can we suggest that this be in the curriculum? There are levels of evidence that we can come to recognize that would help us make better determinations in using humor or laughter therapeutically and improving the quality of outcomes. But does everybody know this, and are we standing by things like this? And the last thing I want to suggest is ethics. In the World Laughter Tour, where we have a course called How to Create Therapeutic Laughter, people who take that training are asked to subscribe to 10 canons of ethics. That is one of the ways we can professionalize the application of the methodologies to have ethical canons. Here is one. I paraphrased it for us today. To the greatest extent possible, members shall accurately represent the discipline with theoretically and scientifically sound knowledge about humor and its benefits. Members shall protect the public against fraud and inaccurate information and shall attempt to eliminate dissemination of myths or false and inaccurate information about therapeutic humor that might discredit the discipline. That's just an example. We can write ethical principles, and we can ask members to subscribe to them. I love this. Bob Provine says, you know, bottom line, until the scientists get all the details worked out, get all the laughter you can. But that's very different from making specific claims. I always end my programs with et cetera, the Latin meaning, and there's more. No matter what we say about any topic, we can never say all there is to be said, so there's more to discuss and talk and chew on about this topic. Here again is the URL where this program and the support materials are waiting for you to go over. The last slide that you will find in the Dropbox, how to reach me, connect and contact me. I would love to hear from you and share opinions and keep this conversation going. There's my title slide again, so I'm done. And Jeremiah, you can, if you stop recording this now, we've got at least this presentation captured. Thank you, everybody.